human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, where's my desktop there? Hold on a second here. There we go. I clicked the wrong button there. Okay, so here we are with Michelle Walling. Welcome back to the program. Michelle, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking me back.
Oh, no problem. Always a pleasure. And, you know, it's funny, before I knew who you were, I read your blog articles and stuff all over the place. And once I realized who you were, then it's like I go around, I'm like, oh, Michelle Walling, I know her. And, you know, it's like you've done so much work with, you know, disseminating information and stuff. It's like we have real similar jobs, you know, just disseminating information. And, but, you know, it's like we're all these little worker bees, you know, just trying to get information out. And I think it's cool that we are open-minded enough to sort of go back to the drawing board as new information comes in. We don't get set in our ways. I think that was sort of the trap I fell into during being in religion, you know, because you have this certain strict set of rules that everything has to fit into this, and you don't learn from anything. So you kind of come to this dead end point where you're stuck in your ways, so to speak. And then if something new doesn't fit, then you don't see it and you just disregard it. But I think it's important for people in our roles that we, as new information comes in and we see things a little differently, that we're honest, you know, and I appreciate your candor in your last video, because that's exactly sort of what happened. So how about an update?
Well, let's just refresh a little bit. In my last video, I talked about several things. I talked about my observation of people literally their consciousness stepping out, and sometimes they step back in, sometimes they don't. And I also talked about the false light New Age agenda, which everything that they do is only a copy. So there is a real underlying storyline that we created to go through this matrix. And the hijacking kind of inverses things, or, you know, reverses them, or takes something that's real and builds upon it that's not real. And so one of the things I was talking about in my last Facebook Live was the 5-dimensional Earth shift. And in a way, it is similar to Earth shifting to a 5-dimensional frequency, but it's way more than that. Way more than just Earth shifting. This is about pulling in all of the different aspects of your multidimensional self into one embodiment, becoming Neo, becoming one, which is a play on Neo's name, N-E-O, and then you can reverse it to O-N-E. And this is about wrapping up a reality and creating something new together, all the different Neos who stand in the power of who they are and bring in themselves to make themselves as like an oversoul being, and then creating something new. I did a QHHT session with Alba Weinman, and in my QHHT session, my higher self came out and said that we're not just creating a new Earth, we're creating a new universe. And I think the universe is the one of you whole as an oversoul level. So you have the opportunity from all the suffering and all the learning that you've done here to create your own universe, and then invite everyone to come to play in your universe, while at the same time you can send an aspect of yourself into all of their universes. So this is a truly expanding on a multiverse level. And this is, for some reason, this matrix and this inversion and everything is happening, everything, all the energy that's generated for some reason, it seems that that is how in this universe that you can literally come here, come to Earth, and ascend by creating your own universe and exiting this one. And it just also seems that this one, because it has, some flaws, maybe a virus or whatever, we copied everything out of it that was good. We closed the back door and put a big lock on it so there couldn't be any interference. And then we're using that template of what we want to create not only a new Earth, but probably, a new kind of reality.
That's very interesting, and that really goes along with. I recently covered the Wingmakers material, and it actually said that everything we perceive, even in the afterlife, was all part of that one system. And so it's not so much the new Earth, like you're saying, it's more a whole new universe. So when you think of it in those terms, that everything we know of, everything we can see and perceive in our reality, is really all part of this matrix system. It really expands your thinking. You're like, well, what the heck is going on here? And it really makes you realize that this is really a big event happening. I mean, it's and we've heard it before, it's universe wide, but it's just hard to wrap your head around the fact that everything we think of as being real is part of this matrix system.
The only thing that's real in the reality that we exist in is experience. There is a real world occurring at the same time, but we are veiled from it because of the changes in our DNA, and that also goes down to the RNA level. So what we've been doing is clearing away all of the layers of the onion, clearing away the emotional trauma from all the lifetimes that we were stuck going around and around on that reincarnation cycle, and opening up our hearts and making room for more of that energy that's coming in. Oh my gosh, we can talk about that. I mean, we've had the Schumann resonance has been crazy every single day coming in with these, the Russian site has the graph, and then you have these whiteout periods. And I haven't seen activity like this in months, where it's happening every day. But then on top of that, we just had that alignment where all the planets were lined up together on one side, everyone was on the same side of the sun together. Mm-hmm. We had a bunch of planets retrograde to do that, and now they're starting to move again. So it's kind of like, I feel like we've had some kind of reset, and I talked about that in my last Facebook Live. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I like to put my observations out there to see if anyone else, we're all in this together, trying to figure out, trying to observe and watch and see what's happening. But like, for instance, I know, I can't remember the date, but it was just in the last 2 weeks, the Schumann resonance, it went offline at 0 GMT, which is, it's measured, it's charted in GMT. Mm-hmm. And on that night, I believe it was a Tuesday. Let me just look at my calendar. I can probably figure it out. I think it was the 28th on Tuesday, and I posted it on my Facebook page. It zeroed out. There was nothing. It was black. And because of the significant events that happened on that day, including me picking my son up from the airport and watching a complete transformation in him, a friend of mine calling and saying that she was speaking from 10% of her consciousness and was about to leave. All of this that was happening, and then that reset, and then all of the sudden, all of this energy, and on top of this Schumann frequency, which these are spikes, either spikes in the Schumann frequency itself, or enough vibrational energy that it's kind of setting off the equipment to where it's going wild. And the KP index has been off the charts, the last couple of days, along with Schumann resonance rising. So we're getting, plasma, we're getting sound frequencies, we're getting vibration, we're getting codes. The codes that come in, we decode them as we need them, but we're getting these downloads. And how I know that they're different things are coming at different times. is, sometimes you just feel completely wiped out and you need to take a nap, and you all of a sudden just get really sleepy eyed and just can't help but lay down, or you just, you go to bed early, you wake up late. But like, for instance, this morning, I woke up at 2 a.m. Eastern time, and I got right on the Schumann resonance, and we were right in the middle of a whiteout. It just started. I was sweating when I woke up, and I thought I had gotten over those night sweats because I pretty much got over those about 6 months ago, to where I'd wake up and just be drenched.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit hot when I wake up. Basically, when you come back into your body, you're vibrating pretty fast, and it excites your atoms, and you begin to sweat, you begin to heat up. But so my physical body was catching up to my spirit, that every time I come back into my body after dreaming, my astral body and everything, it would accelerate my physical body, and I would, sweat. So that's part of this ascension symptoms. So, raising your frequency and your physical body catching up. So this morning I was just awake, and I was just like, oh, what should I do? Should I make some coffee, or, should I get up? And so I got up and I did household chores and stuff, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and then finally took a little nap. But so sometimes you're full of energy and sometimes you're really sleepy. So, and it's not the same for everyone. And so it's really important just to listen to your body and see, how you feel, and go with whatever. If you feel tired, then sleep. And if you have lots of energy, then exercise or do something.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And that's funny that you mentioned checking the Schumann last night, because I did the same thing. I got a headache at one point, and I'd been drinking water, making sure I was hydrated, and that's typically where my headaches come from if I don't drink enough water. So I checked the Schumann, and sure enough, we were in the middle of one of those whiteouts, and that was in the middle of the night. Let me pull it up here again so people can see. But yeah, so these big white zones here, it's where the energy is so strong that it's basically off the charts. I mean, you can't even really, it's not even registering um, the signal, because it's
Yeah.
just pegged. And then you mentioned, you were just talking about it, where it actually went all the way offline. It was black, sort of like we see at the end here, where it just turns black. But it should have been registering something, but it was like it either got kicked offline or got
Really?
shut off or something. In your last video, weren't you talking about it had some blackouts?
That happened on the 28th
Right,
at 0 GMT.
right. Yeah, so here I've
There's
just been noticing the whiteouts. I haven't noticed the blackouts like you were talking about, but that was the 28th.
I had never seen that before. Someone had commented on it that, well, the equipment is just, resetting or something. Well, okay, that's still significant. Everything that happens in this holographic reality is very significant to show us what's happening. So, yeah.
That's actually why I use this Russian website over the Heart Math
Yeah.
website, because it's
Yes.
delayed, and then a lot of times the data would be blacked out, and it's like, why aren't they wanting to show us? I don't know who's running the Heart Math and or whatever, but a lot of times whenever I'm the time frame I'm wanting to look at to see what's going on, it'd be blacked out, and I'm like, why is it blacked out right where I want to see it? You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on there. And then the fact that it's not real time lets me know they have time to doctor it if they want, or take it offline. But yeah, the Russian one's a little bit nicer, because you can go there and check it real time, and you can actually just refresh the page, which I typically do. And for those who want to know where that is, I typically just go to MrMBB333.com's
That's what I
website,
do.
and then hit the Schumann resonance right here on the side, and then it will
Yep.
pull this up, and you can keep it open, and you can actually refresh it. Like, I'll refresh it now, and you can
Yep.
see it's died down a little bit, but we're still getting these pulses. These aren't even normal. These heart lines you see only last a
Yeah.
few minutes. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all strange too. I mean,
It's
normally
like
it's just,
Morse code.
yeah,
They just, they go beer and just keep it going, and then they stop and they go beep, 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 You
exactly.
should actually make a song out of it, just kind of
Totally.
figure out what's a C and what's a D, what's an F, and just make a song, just play that. That'd be interesting.
The Schumann resonance is outside of our hearing range pretty much, because we hear it, 20,000 or 20 hertz and above. And what I did was, a while back, I added 100 hertz to each of the Schumann hot points, like starting at 7.83. So I start at 107.83, and I actually play those notes, and they play a chord. So like there's actually,
Whoa.
yeah, when I added 100 hertz to bring it in what we can hear, it actually plays this chord that actually harmonizes. So it was an eye-opening experience. I need to do that for everyone to show them how the sound of it, because and then someone else was saying that, oh, you actually need to multiply each one to. So I don't know. I just added 100 to each one and saw just to see what it would sound like, and it actually made a chord, like each note. It wasn't clashing, is what I'm saying. You know, like when you're just playing a bad chord and the notes aren't jiving. It actually made a really nice, harmonizing chord to add 100 hertz
Well,
to each one.
I know because I hear it.
Oh yeah.
Have this is very interesting. I don't have a lot of clairvoyance where I see movies or pictures or images. I can get an image, but it's more like a thought, and I don't hear any voices or anything like that. But one thing that started happening to me in 2009, 2010, when I really had my one awakening experience. I went camping in Canada in the summertime. I've never been to Canada around the Alberta area. And I was sitting in the sun and I had my bathing suit on. It was like 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like my perfect ideal temperature. And I have my hands on the ground and I'm just, paying homage to the sun. And all of a sudden, I start to hear this Morse code in my head. And it's not a high pitched frequency. It was a very low, like a foghorn, and
Mhm.
it would come in like I could. We had a few beers around, and I actually would blow into the beer bottle, and it was the same frequency as what I was hearing. And it started out as Morse code, like it would come and come on and come off and come on and come off, and it was really loud. And I searched everywhere for Morse code frequencies, and all I could find at that time on the internet was high pitched frequencies. But as time went, it was very harmonic, by the way. As time went by, it got tighter and tighter in between. So
Mhm.
it was like bah, 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 bah. Sometimes it would go away, and I was like, "Oh no, what am I doing wrong?" But I didn't. I don't really think I was doing anything wrong. For a long time, it was so loud. I had to ask my guidance team, "Please put this in the back of my head somewhere." But I need, I was laying in bed, and it was so loud. I'm like, "Oh, you can't put earplugs in or anything. This is in your head." So then it became solid, and then it became higher in harmonic frequencies. So I can hear it. I can hear it. I don't know how else to put it. It's like it's vibrating something inside of maybe my eardrum, or it's vibrating. I can feel the vibration of what's in our reality.
Oh wow. Does that change with the Schumann resonance, or does it seem to be a separate event?
It is it's so high now. It's not a high pitch frequency. It's a high harmony, and it's very faint. I can only hear it when I'm really laying there sleeping, and it hasn't changed in a while because I think it's such a high harmonic frequency. It's tight. I would call it tight, and um, I'm listening for it right now. It's so many harmonic layers all together
Like a
that it's
chorus of
oh, it's no
sounds.
longer high. It's everything. So it
Right.
doesn't really change for me in my head. And it's pretty faint at this point, but it's because if it wasn't, I'd go crazy. I'd be like, how do you expect me to sleep? But it's always in the back of my mind. So I can remember, okay, this is real. There's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
very few people that I've actually talked to that the same thing happened to. So I just mention it here in case anybody has that. I do believe it's like the heartbeat of Earth, or the heartbeat of the frequency of Earth. Um, and it's really gotten higher, and it feels like my source lifeline. That's a good way to put it.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I've noticed that if I'm in a really quiet place, that the silence is just deafening. It's like I wouldn't call it notes like you're explaining it, but just almost like static. Like it's just I don't know. You like when you have a compressor on, for people that understand the mic, it like turns it up when there's no sound to pick up the lighter sounds, and then it turns down. So if I don't have any other sound going on, it just sounds roaring loud to me, and that's why I have to put
Really?
sleep music on, because I have to
Yeah.
have something to anchor to know I'm not being drowned out with this loud roaring, static or whatever. Static is a bad word for it because it's not like shh, but it's like it just feels loud, but only if there's no sound going on. So yeah.
Today I had a thought when I was thinking about it, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to have earaches all the time, and I had these what they call tubes put in my ears.
Me too. Yeah.
They come out, but I wonder if that has anything to do with now my ability for my inner ear stuff to vibrate the way it needed to for me to hear this frequency. I don't know. It was a good thought because some people are having leaky ears, like
Yeah.
this white fluid that comes out of their ears at night because of the change in frequency that's happening, and it can get really crusty inside their ears and outside their ears and on their pillow. So if you're having leaky ear out there, then that seems to be a normal thing for some people that's happening because of the frequency changes and everything that's happening to our cells and our bodies. Let's talk about the body for a minute, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Let's do it.
One of the things that I want to share with everyone is, um, the old 5D way of thinking of ascending is, a lot of us just wanted to get out of this reality, this 3D reality, at all costs, even if it means disappearing here and appearing, on 5D, like in a 5D reality, like maybe on Tomorrowland,
Hmm.
where the movie where they have these pins, and when she touches the pin, she's all of a sudden a whole new reality is around her. It's still in the same place, just in a different frequency. Well, as we came in as starseeds to close down this matrix and to correct what I'm going to term the virus, but the changes that were made in the DNA that cut us off from source and cut us off from our multidimensional self, we sat on many councils and talked to different star beings and different races that are overseeing things like um, the various bodies, physical bodies that can be incarnated into in order to experience density and physicality. And there was a real pull to do something completely different this time and keep these physical bodies, but yet blast them with energy and teach us how to heal ourselves, clear ourselves, teach us how to not react and be triggered so that we're not giving away, leaking our energy everywhere to the matrix, to other people that are being played as puppets against us. And in a moment of what has been called, cosmic flash, a whole bunch of different, names,
Hmm.
I think that there'll be one really big wave of energy, light, frequency, sound, whatever. And if we've raised our frequency enough in the body, not necessarily to 5D, maybe even some of us, as we start working on the layers, we will leave the body a lot more and really connect with our 5D, 7D, 9D, 12D selves, come back in the body. When this wave of light comes, that is what's going to shift everything. That's what's going to change everything. And we take this body with us. We don't have to drop it. That's why some people, though, unfortunately, are having such a hard time with physical symptoms and perhaps even leaving the body because they just can't take it. And perhaps they're just tired, or maybe they didn't even come here to actually ride this wave through as it comes. And a couple of things could happen as they're walking out. What we're witnessing, the AI that runs this matrix was created as the organic AI was created to be able to run the bodies, and we could keep it in stasis. In other words, it could go off a cellular memory and know it needs to get up, it needs to eat breakfast, it needs to, you know, take a shower, eat lunch, you know, bathe itself, use the bathroom, whatever. Maybe you can even leave a little bit of your consciousness in there, a small part of your consciousness, and pull a lot of your consciousness out and go travel multidimensionally and be able to come back into the body. That's what I see people start doing now. I totally lost where I was going with that, but
Oh, well, let me chime in with that because I think that's
it's a segue.
yeah, that's in your last video. I want to encourage anybody to go to your channel and watch that Facebook Live that you did, that you uploaded to your YouTube channel, and the link is below. But you know, I watched it like 3 times because it was so hard to wrap my head around the
Oh
whole
gosh.
idea. Yeah, but no, it's deep, you know, and I was really considering it, and I was like, I need to listen to it again because
Oh
there's
gosh.
so much.
It was the first time I talked about it. And so I have gained a little bit of clarity by talking to a couple of friends of mine and by other people. So that helps me put it into words. So
Right.
I apologize. And as I went to go film that, actually, and I'm in my condo right now, my camera wouldn't work for Facebook. And then I'm in a concrete block house and I have no cell service. So I promised I was coming on, so I had to go outside, and it was interesting because it was so dark because the light was behind me. If you go back and watch the clouds, there's a lot of cloud activity that's happening. A lot of things formed in the clouds behind me, but my feet were actually in the dirt where I had to be to get cell service. So I was good and grounded. This display going on behind me, and I'm doing the best I can to talk about the exciting way this is unfolding. It's not, I don't think we expected it to be like this, but we're trying to preserve these bodies. And you really, if you came here as a star seed, as a source aspect, as a seed of source to do this, there's not a lot that you have to do except quit fighting yourself.
Right.
It
Well,
will happen for you. There's no worry, am I going to ascend? Am I going to make it or anything? You know, it helps to speed the process if you do all the things that we talk about. You talk about it, all the work that needs to be done. I've talked about it on your shows before. That helps speed the process, and that helps you go through it with ease and grace. But if you don't pay attention and you fight yourself, what's going to happen? You're going to get knocked on your ass. You'll have an accident, or you'll get a little sick. You'll have really bad flu, ascension symptoms, or whatever, so that your body can be knocked down and the process can happen. But if you do the things that we've talked about doing, and you change the way that you treat other people and the way that you think and your behavioral patterns and your programming, and you do all that, it really does just happen magically. And
right.
I just want to say, when I left my body, I didn't realize, like, I was down for 2 months in June and July, and I came back on August 8th, the Lionsgate. I actually literally came back. What happened is I was foggy headed. I couldn't think to write an article. There was no way I was going to get on video and talk to anybody. I had no desire to talk to anybody. I don't think I left the house. I was invited to go to the beach almost every day. And I was like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm perfectly fine. But I really wasn't myself. And I wasn't concerned, but I knew that I thought I was going through upgrades or reprogramming or something weird. I wanted to watch television, watch movies, play board games, just anything to occupy my time and read. I still studied and read a lot. Thank you so much to everyone who's doing videos and talking to other people and sharing experiences, because, like, especially when I was down for those 2 months, the last thing I wanted to do was that. And I'm just so happy to see so many people getting out, sharing experiences, so that all the rest of us have something to watch, right?
Right. Right.
Put my 2 cents in every now and then and keep going, because we all have to do that. We all have to, let go of our fears and really just speak our truth. There's nothing to fear when you're just speaking your own truth. So finally, one day I woke up and I felt a little bit better, and I realized it was time for me to go back to my condo, go home, because I was staying with a friend. And so got up and I got everything ready, went back to the condo. And things started slowly getting better with my consciousness. Like I started feeling better, started feeling like I could think better. And then on 8/8, I woke up. I had been really depressed on 8/7 that night. I cried a little bit. You know, of course, all that's good. You're processing emotions and working through things that you don't need to put a name on it. You're just feeling it. But, you know, I was kind of feeling sorry for myself and sad and feeling like shit because I hadn't done anything for 2 months. And I was like, oh God, you know, I hadn't
Or
didn't
you
see.
thought you hadn't done anything.
Well, exactly. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen any clients but I knew it was okay. But I thought maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I
Hmm.
just really went through a deep depression or something. Woke up that morning 8/8, and my higher self said, now open your eyes and look around. I looked around and I felt gratitude for where I lived. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I have to be depressed about? Look where I live. I have a house or condo, you know. It's so comfortable here and I love it. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And I started thinking about homeless people and I started thinking about all my friends who are having a hard time. And I said, what in the world do you have to be depressed about? You know, open your eyes and get back to work. And all of a sudden I was like, yeah. And then I opened my computer and I opened up an email, and there was an email that pulled me wholly into my body that said, thank you so much for your life coaching session a year ago. And meeting you in Seattle was wonderful, and you've really helped me. And, you know, here's the link to a blog article I wrote, and I mentioned your name in it. And I was like, so full of gratitude and so happy. And that is what brought me back. And I was fully back after 2 months. Well, I didn't think a whole lot about it until I witnessed someone leaving and they told me they were leaving. And then I was like, I didn't witness it. They called me and said, I'm leaving. I'm like, okay. And then I had another friend tell me, you know, Michelle, I can see where that you left for those 2 months. You pulled a large portion of your consciousness out, and the body was just running on autopilot. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, now I'm getting it.
So
So maybe
just to clarify for people watching it, you, from your standpoint, you remember being here the whole time. So,
I do.
and I think
I
that's
don't
important for
remember
others to know.
anything
Yeah.
about me joining my real self
Hmm.
or my other multidimensional selves on council. One of the assumptions I've made based on what a friend of mine said is that when I pulled myself out and I suppose I gathered information, codes, template, organic template information or whatever. When I came back in the body, I zapped the crap out of my own individual matrix to where I was now in my own protective bubble within my body, and none of my chakras could be plugged into unless I broke my bubble and willfully fall out again and, you know, fall down in frequency or, you know, by free will.
Yeah.
Uh, it's going to be really hard to do that because it makes you just feel 100% different when you're free. You know, I feel free and I feel vibrant. And I can't say that I still am not sleeping a lot. I really do like to sleep. And I think that's when your etheric body does go back to counsel and report and everything. And I still have dreams about sorting things, getting things, helping other people sort their stuff and you know, do a lot of work at night. So, gosh, you know, I can't explain what's happening, but I'm throwing out some seeds to see if someone who has more ability than I do can really look into this and confirm, you know, maybe with some comments that we are stepping out, stepping back in more. Now, some people, I want to talk about this real quick. Some people I've noticed in my life, this is where I really 2 months ago began questioning this part is, and the video before last on Facebook talked about this. Some people step out and it seems like they haven't stepped back in yet. And, you know, it's sad and it's weird. And they act robotic and they repeat themselves over and over again. And I just assumed before I kind of did it myself and came back that they had ascended. They left, they went home. And, that's a very common walkout scenario. And then another spirit can walk in, or if, depending on the frequency of the body, maybe even there's some disembodied spirits that want to walk in and use the body like a puppet for a while and have fun and do stuff. There's lots of different things going on when somebody does walk out, but I was in stasis, and because I was, I just was like, I probably was acting robotic. I don't remember, but I didn't. There wasn't much going on. There wasn't a chance really for, I don't think, anything to try to take over my body before I was able to come back in. But hell, I don't know.
I think, and that kind of gets me along the line of thinking of what you're saying is that for some of us, I know, like, for instance, like I have really close friends that seem like they're completely gone and robotic, but I've had dreams about them where I'm hanging out with them, and I think maybe I am hanging out with the real aspect of them that left their body, like you're talking about, on the other side at dream time, because these are people that's been really close to me my whole life, and I love them, and I've missed them, and it's like, why did I have a dream I was hanging out with them? And maybe I really was, and maybe
Oh
what you're
gosh.
talking about happens nightly for us, but sometimes we have to take these hiatus where, like a Sabbath, if you will, from our body and really collect all of this data and then bring it back into the body like you did to zap the matrix. You know what
We
I mean?
do need to zap the matrix, and we're all connected. But when you were saying that, Shane, I got full body chills. And there is a real world happening at the same time. We are the starseeds, the warriors, the boots on the ground that volunteered to come back and finally close down and zap the matrix and close it down. And to do that, we need more of our comrades to come back into their bodies and do it. It's tough. Not everybody can do it. And people that are listening are probably, if they were to think back at some times where they were knocked completely out and they couldn't really think, they were foggy brain, they couldn't read because their eyes were just so, blurry. And, your consciousness is probably not all in your body. And we would like to help the Federation and all of the different star races that have DNA in our bodies. We would like to help them salvage as many bodies as possible through this. But every body that is going to make it through this flash of light, if that's what ends up occurring, needs to have a source starseed, a source aspect. Okay, there's kind of like different beings here. Whoever created this reality, what you do is you create a universe, you create a reality, and then you send aspects of yourself in it, and then you invite all your friends to come join my reality, come play my game. So there's the original source aspects of the creator here that got lost and hijacked and imprisoned, and then there's also the players that came in, the source aspect players from other universes or other realities that came in, and then there's the walk-in starseeds that came in to fight the virus in the matrix, to reprogram and recode this reality to where the physical bodies can heal themselves and change their DNA and RNA, their programming. And then this, we've all heard about this flash of light, so I'm assuming that this flash of light's going to come. And at the moment that everything is collapsing in the matrix, the apocalypse scene where you've got fire and you've got waves and you've got, your volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, civil unrest at some moment where it gets, everything has to be balanced. So at some moment when it gets really, really, really bad, that's when we flash out of here, and I say out of here, it just means that we're in our own universe, and we've got our friends that are with us, and then they're in their own universe, and they've got aspects of us joining them. That's the way my imagination sees it. And so it could be something different, but that's Or
That
maybe, you know, we're creating one universe and then we're all in it. And then eventually we go and we take the template in our bodies, because we got everything's in our bodies. That's why it's so important to try to keep these bodies. And by the way, they've been copied on the ships. So worst case scenario, if we don't physically stay alive, it's cool. I think that we have plenty of specimens to start a new civilization. And I think that's already been happening in the works. But, you know, we'd like to try it this way. And if we do it, I mean, we're going to be the first ones in the multiverse that have done something like this.
and we will respawn. It's not like it's a lot like a game in the sense because I mean it's very real to us, you know. But on another hand, we're trying to accomplish something here, and it really can be exciting times if you can get beyond, you know, if you can get to a certain perspective and see this as just, you know, we're playing out our roles and we're accomplishing something. And you know, I recently checked out this alien interview, and it was talking about how as creator beings we sort of get bored, and you know, we can play games, but it's funner to sort of forget and then come in and try to accomplish things. So I think on one level that, you know, it seems very real to us on this level, but at another, we're like a team and we're trying to accomplish something. And it's exciting if you can sort of, you know, get past the thinking that this is all there is. If you die, you're gone. And, you know, once you realize that you're not, it's like you can't be killed. You live on and on. And even our vessels, physical bodies or whatever, can be respawned. And, you know, nothing's like we think it is, I think, is what I'm getting at.
It's true. And some people have already died and got put back in a parallel reality body, you know, so they can't, you know, they can't die. And then some people feel like we're already in fourth dimensional frequency, kind of like in a higher level instead of the lower. Some people are in hell. Some people are in a lower astral level hell, you know, basically
Right.
everything in their life is hell to show them, because the way this matrix was working is it mirrors everything that whatever you put into it is what it's going to come back to you. So it's been very interesting. The calmer you are, the calmer your reality is. The more loving you are, the more grateful you are, the more compassionate you are, the more helpful you are, the more help you get, the more love you get, the more compassion you get. So, yeah, it is interesting. The worst case scenario, if we're not able to pull this off, I mean, I feel like my spaceship would just come get me, worst case, or I would just leave. It would help, it would pull my consciousness out of the body. The reason we have, I mean, how genius it is to be in an AI reality where you don't have a bunch of bodies dropping on the ground, and us having to deal with, you know, burying a bunch of dead people be horrible. I'd much rather have my family members run on AI than have to, I mean, I need to focus on what's happening. I don't need any funerals, you know?
Oh,
When
definitely. Yeah.
then it's just that's exactly what that soul wanted to do. They just wanted to leave, and it was either too hard or they never really were going to stay. They needed to get to a certain frequency and take that frequency in their in their own template back to their star races and have that frequency and create a world with that frequency. That the bonus of coming here is you get to leave with the experience and the template of Earth. And so at the higher frequency that you make it. Now, some people who are leaving are going to reincarnate on the new Earth. They're going to go get healing or whatever, reincarnate on the new Earth. But if you can get over any kind of fear of dying, knowing that, you know, when your spirit leaves this body, it basically frees you from this experience and you move on. You either go back home or you decide that you want to come back and, you know, get that new template and then go create something with it. Once you get over that fear, it changes everything. It makes it a little bit more tolerable. And it's when I came back on 8/8, excuse me, that was the last time that I really was desperate to leave this reality. So, because like there's been so many times I'm like, yeah, I don't want to stay here, just come get me, because I'm watching everything unfold in reality, you know, out there, not in my local reality, but way out there. I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. You know, haven't I done enough? Can't I just go? But no, I'm here.
It
You know,
does get like that from time to time. And you mentioned in your last video about the Maya doing that, where it appears like they just disappeared off the face of the earth at some point, and maybe they just
yes.
achieved this higher frequency to where they shifted out of what we consider to be reality. They're still like right here, but on a higher dimensional plane, like 5D already.
Well, they are someone's multidimensional selves. So they're an aspect. Everyone here has their multidimensional self. So if someone here had, has a Mayan connection, they still have a multidimensional self in another reality. And there's no such thing as time, but they're kind of like is a linear timeline that plays out this record with these node points and everything. The node points don't really change,
Yeah.
but cycles play out according to those node points, and we're coming to the end. And I just find it very fascinating. First of all, I just want to send love and prayers to everybody on the East Coast, up in South Carolina, North Carolina, and all the areas where the rain's about to come and the winds. And I'm just sending intentions that there not be a lot of damage. We're in hurricane season, but we can't. Some people are saying, well, we should just let this run its course, its natural course. And I'm like, well, in my reality, I want to send intentions that nobody has to, really suffer or have any bad things happen. So just want to send my thoughts, especially since there's several hurricanes behind that coming. But as I look around, I think, oh my God, we have to be close. Here's something that I really would like to mention is I have talked to so many people, Shane, that have what I am going to say, I've named it an impossible situation going on in their life. They literally have no way out of the situation that they've got themselves into. And it's desperation and sometimes just a repetitive crap over and over and over again, nowhere to go, nowhere to move, can't quit their job because they have kids to take care of. And then serious things, just, diseases and all kinds of things that are happening and possible situations. The more I see people with impossible situations, I think, well, how long is this going to last? How long can this last? It has to be coming to a point soon.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I come back to quite a bit, and that the Mandela effect's helped me with that, is the fact that things can change in an impossible way. I mean, problems can just, that's why I try to find the deeper meaning in something, because once you consider that the Mandela effect changes are happening from a benevolent source, then you realize that they can just, hack into our reality and change something with just maybe a few keystrokes, or the equivalent of what we think of as like a few keystrokes, and change our reality. And if they're not, what are they trying to, is it a catalyst for us to move into something else? Is it to wake us up to a bigger purpose or whatever? Because I really think they can change our reality right before our eyes, and us not even know it. So
Well,
that's
Shane, who is they?
they, our higher selves. I think it's really our future
Okay.
selves. Yeah.
Well, yeah. As the dimensions were cut off from travel in consciousness. We have our seven chakras, and they literally are cut off from each other. As we've done more energy work, we're trying to run our energy. We're trying to connect our chakras into one solid pillar of light. It's the same thing, as within, so without. As the dimension barriers are being, taken down with consciousness and with vibration, we are connecting with our higher selves. So really, we're connecting with them, they're connecting with us. And I think we're the ones, when these miracles happen, I think we're the ones embodied that are actually doing it. I mean,
Right.
in my opinion. And some people, you have to keep in mind what you call the NPCs. Some of the, is that right?
Yeah.
NPCs,
Yeah.
not
Non-player characters, the people we think are
characters.
background people or whatever.
They're just running the impossible situations because they're on auto repeat, you
Hmm.
know? they're just dealing with it and doing it, you know, like robots every day. And some people, you're right, are, you know, maybe source players that have impossible situations that are providing a situation for someone else to wake up, realize this is an impossible damn situation. I need to do something about this. You know, God, please help me. Or, you know, spaceship, come pick me up. I'm done here. You know, these
Scotty, come beam me up, or beam me up, Scotty.
yes,
Right?
just asking for help is at surrendering and asking for help is very important, because that's when you are opening yourself up to all possibilities happening. So
I often say that too. Like people get so down on their luck that they cry out for help and they get it. And it's like I tell people all the time, don't wait and get down that far before you ask for help. I mean, when
exactly.
it starts going awry, or even if things are going great, ask for things to keep going great for you. Don't let, don't get so far down that that's like, you're like, oh yeah, I can cry out for help. I mean, get there before, ask before you get there, basically.
If you go to howtoexitthematrix.com and type in revoke contracts, you can get an idea of how you can say out loud to revoke any situations that are that you placed upon yourself with agreements, even if you were tricked before you incarnated, or even if you're carrying on any kind of family stuff through your DNA blood lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's really important that you become sovereign and free just by your intentions and your words. And also that you realize that you are God, that you're an aspect, a fractal of the creator, the source creator and prime creator. And you're an aspect of your oversoul, you're an aspect of your higher self, that you have the ability to be like Neo and insert yourself back into the reality and change it yourself.
Yeah, that's funny that people say
Blasphemous.
they all the time, and it's really us, you know?
Some people think it's blasphemous to say that, you know, ye are gods.
Right.
Our higher selves were the gods. You know, some people here, I'd like to mention this. Let's talk about the Anunnaki story for a minute if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So there's a storyline for what we're in right now. And that is that the Anunnaki, those that were from out there that came here, you know, they landed here. They wanted to mine for gold. They decided to take the hominoid, maybe the Sasquatch looking guy, mix it with some DNA that they had on the ship, maybe with some apes, maybe with some really white, non-hairy humans that they had, you know, got DNA from before, and some darker ones, and just messed around and made a whole bunch of different versions, and came up with a pretty dark skinned human that could do this manual labor for them to mine this gold. So they made several versions of the DNA, and they wanted the human to be able to take orders, but also be kind of somewhat intelligent. And eventually they changed the male and females to where they could copulate together and create babies rather than them having to create them in the test tubes so these were beings that were told they could, you know, they had free will to do whatever they wanted to do, and they found resources and they wanted to take over this planet, and they had kingdoms, and they thrived, and they loved their people. They called them their Lulus, their workers. They created, you know, a whole society. And the problem is one point that they cut off some of our DNA that kept us from connecting with our creator, with source, with our spirit. They also made the robots. And there was a point where artificial intelligence was introduced to a virus, and draconians and other factions that decided to capitalize on this and even mind control some of the Anunnaki gods, or Nephilim hybrids, to the point where this whole takeover was happening. But there was some what they call universal laws broken. You know, you can't. They kind of tricked source beings into jumping into some of these new bodies that would be completely cut off from many of the dimensions and their source. It's okay to not remember, but at some point you've got to have some connection. You know, some connection to who you are, and powers and abilities and love, and all these things. So it was the councils really worked out, talked about this for a long time. Did the Anunnaki break universal law? And when the Anunnaki leaders and the Enki and Enlil and Inanna and Anu, and when they were taken to councils to talk about this, they were pretty much told that they needed to fix what they did. And whether, of course, everything is allowed to happen, and whether this is a good and bad thing, you did bad and now you need to do good, it really doesn't matter. The point is that what happened is many of these Anunnaki actually started incarnating themselves into this time. They split their consciousness up, and they projected a part of it into these bodies to try to be the ones who withstand the flash and are able to take this race, this perfected body, change the body back to the perfected body, and undo what they did, or create something even better. So it's a win-win for them. They get reprieved of whatever they did wrong, and they now they get a chance to create something even better. And they're stuck here until the end. And they've been stuck here for quite a long time. And many of them have contacted me and know who they are, and know, by name who they are, that they're an incarnation of Inanna or Enki or Enlil or Ereshkigal. And, some of them are fearful of coming out and telling people who they are, because it's like, would we point the finger? Would we ever be able to forgive them for, the suffering that we came in here? But I tell this story because I think it's important that people really understand that the Anunnaki are from the creator of this universe. So when I said there was source players that are from the creator, where the creator created the reality and then sent itself in, and then friends that came in and got caught, and then travelers that got pulled in and got shoved in here for energy purposes, and then starseeds that come in. Well, some of these beings from the source creator of this universe are actually the Anunnaki aspects that came back in to fix things, to fix things right, to restore their name in the Federation, and be able to. And they got a lot of help. And when the call was made to help, they're the ones that called.
That's amazing to really think of it that way, because essentially that's like saying that the prison we're in is our body, in a sense, because it's had like some of its wires clipped, if you will, if you kind of think of it from a way that we can imagine. We normally have all these connections with source and everything, but somebody went there and snipped some of our wires, and it actually turned our physical vessel into something lesser to sort of hold us here in a way. It's weird to think of it like that.
What better ones to fix it than the ones that snipped them, right?
Right.
These beings, by the way, they're multidimensional too. So their higher selves came down to their level and somehow, contacted them and reached out to them and said, look, we're here to help you. We are one, and we're going to help you through this. And what a grand experiment, and what a grand experience that will come of this when we're all done. So
were they able to overcome the amnesia immediately, or is it something like they had to sort of wake up, like these Anunnaki you're talking about that have figured out who they are? Did they sort of, are they walk-ins, or were they born here? How much of that can you share with us?
Both. But born here would be probably the biggest portion of them, and walk-ins can happen as well. But if you are born here, you own the body. You own the body. So you want to be born. There's a fight for bodies, There's, and some of them sent a very large portion of themselves here, which is very risky, because your portions may not wake up, or they may get killed, but they may not be successful. So they send very large amounts of themselves in here to increase the chances of something that's never been done before.
So it's a gamble. It's like the more you send, the better chances you'll have of success, but the more you risk putting everything on the line, so to speak. It's like your chips at a
They really
roulette
didn't
wheel.
have a choice though, and they had some really good help. Some of them, their higher selves, are very high level extraterrestrial beings that don't, need spaceships to move around, but they do use technology when needed. And there's the bad guy here is actually just a portion of consciousness of the Anunnakis that just fell to the lowest darkest depths and did not want to go with the family, did not want this change to happen. In fact, wanted to use the AI and the draconians and everything to as a big, as built an empire, the dark empire, really wanted to take over Earth and take over all the bodies, move all the consciousness out of the bodies with technology, take over the bodies, and the transhumanist agenda would then play out, or they just have the ability to put source consciousness, in different bodies and just keep using the same ones over and over and recycle. That's when we got rid of the recycle bin. And they wanted to then have a soldiers, an army of transhumanist super soldiers and go out and
That's interesting about the transhumanist agenda, because when I was reading the Wingmakers material, it basically said we're at this crossroads of like evolving through technology, like the transhumanist agenda, or being able to really do it all naturally. They just don't want us to know we have that ability to do it naturally. Plus, we would be in control, where the transhumanist agenda, you're going to be controlled by the AI basically. And then to escape at that point would be even harder, because now you're not even running anything. You're giving yourself over to the AI to control your body as you connect more and more things to you. And once they start implanting chips and stuff, it'll be almost impossible to break free, because it's like they're taking a next step towards more control and more of a prison, putting us in more of a prison by connecting us with technology. So that's interesting that you're bringing this up like that, because it goes right along with that whole Wingmakers material.
well, some people came back from the future, from that transhumanist or their higher self, connected with them and sent aspects of themselves from the future transhumanist timeline here to give the message. You go down that line because they have the ability to look at every possibility and probability down to the end, and it would basically have wiped the human race out as we know it. And this human body has very valuable DNA. It has experience. It has it has template for creating a physical vessel. It's still a hologram, but it's still an energetic template. And we like playing around in these bodies. If the conditions were right and the reality that we were in, and we could fix what we wanted to fix, and we got the power to do that, then many of us wouldn't want to leave.
Exactly. And I think that's what, we're talking about this. I think evolution into the Christ consciousness, basically sort of what Jesus did. He should be like an archetype for what we're all trying to do. And I think that's one of the dangers with religion, is that they sort of have us looking for this man to arrive on the cloud, instead of partaking this consciousness like he did and really become like Jesus did, and with the transfiguration, and because he achieved that light body and everything that we're trying to do right now. So if you think of it in that terms, you can see why they've twisted it a little bit to make us say, hey, let's just sit back and wait for this guy to show up and fix it all for us, instead of us doing what he did. And if he's the truth, the way, and the life, you can see that also as he's the way we should be trying to follow and emulate to achieve what he achieved. Instead of just go through a door that he creates, that he did it all for you. You don't have to do
Well,
anything.
I was hoping for that damn door, but okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so his way is the middle way, unbiased and on the fence, being the orator, but also not judging, and understanding that a lot of these people are robots, and that's why they're behaving badly. And so you're only hurting yourself if you're going to not forgive somebody, and you're only bearing that cross and carrying that cross with you, unless you realize you're only hurting yourself. And so then you want to even treat the robots like you want to be treated, because you never know if that vessel is going to be, even if there's a bad entity in it, then some source consciousness may come along and jump right into it. You don't want to have that in that cellular memory of that body, that you treated it like shit, because then you got to forgive yourself, and you got to, ask for forgiveness and do all these. So why not just be a good person? And, being unbiased and on the fence does not mean you're going to allow someone to step all over you. That's when you learn how to make decisions to where you're not going to give your energy away to anyone, but yet you're going to be compassionate about it and try as much as possible not to hurt someone else, but stand in your ground. And when you speak your truth to somebody that's, a very close family member or whatever, and you say, look, I'm sorry, well, I just can't do this anymore. You're making me sick. You're making me ill. My energy is just zapped when I'm around you. When you decide that you want to be respectful and treat me like I, want to be treated, like you want to be treated, and vice versa, then we can have a conversation. Sometimes you have to remove them from your life. And if they're real source beings, and if it really matters and it's really part of your mission to work with them through the rest of your incarnation here, then things will work out, and then you work with each other. So I truly believe that the consciousness that created all of this information about how to act definitely was the archetype for us to follow.
I think so too, and that's why I often refer to the NPCs. And the way you're bringing it up right now, an NPC today might not be one tomorrow. They might have come back into their body.
Creepy.
Or they might have had a walk-in, or they might have returned. Like you say, you felt like an NPC for a couple of months, and your consciousness suddenly comes back in. You can't remember what you were away doing. You just know that you didn't have enough consciousness here. That you were just vegging out and felt cloudy-headed, watching TV, maybe playing, Candy Crush. I've done that a few times where oh yeah, I forgot I got that old Candy Crush game. But yeah, we got through those times.
Scrabble.
Oh yeah.
And then I was dreaming about Scrabble every single night. Having real dreams. I was dreaming about Scrabble words.
Oh wow, that's funny. Crazy. So yeah, it's like we stay here, but it's really trip when you think about it, because it's like these are really just suits, you know what I mean? And people get upset if I say meat suits, but they really are. They're just housing part of our consciousness here, and it might not be our consciousness. We might drift away, and the Matrix runs it for a while. And I think that might be what's happening with a lot of the people in our family, where we're like, they're just so asleep and they seem robotic. Maybe they are. Maybe they've already been taken away in their body. Aren't you glad you don't have to do a funeral like you were just saying earlier? It's better if they're sort of just left here and on autopilot. I often think of that movie Click, where he would hit fast forward and his body would just go on autopilot, and he wouldn't remember the things he agreed to with his wife and everything.
Oh gosh, I'm going to have to watch that movie again.
Yeah, so it's like he went into NPC mode to fast forward it, and and it totally makes sense. Yeah,
I remember thinking how stupid that movie was. I'm not going to watch that stupid movie. Now I go watch it because it's telling you everything.
That's so funny how stuff works out like that too, isn't it? It's like, oh my gosh, a little nugget of truth here and there, and when the Matrix came out, we just all thought that was ridiculous, but now it's like, oh my gosh, Mr. Smith's everywhere.
I was more worried about waking up in that pod and having to pull those things out and then eating slop on a gray spaceship.
Right. Without any eyebrows or hair on your face. That was...
I think that's maybe, the future selves and, basically the future version, the worst case scenario. And they've, came back several times to, to make it a little bit more palatable and achievable.
Yeah.
I really, want to tell everybody that I just want to give everybody some hope that things have really changed. I can see from as many people as I'm connected to, and from my own experience, my reality, that we are the percentage of being successful in this and taking this body through this ascension or inscension is very high. We're doing well, and we have to keep supporting each other, talking about it. And Don't take anything that I say as, your truth, but if there's something that resonates, and that may help you, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
I'm not,
because it could be different in a month for any of us that are open minded about stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah, and people experience it differently
Yeah.
too. They do. Some people do remember stepping out. Some people remember being on a ship. They left for a while and they were on a ship. Some people went to infirmary to get some healing.
Hmm.
So um, the multidimensional barriers are thinning, and it's going to be amazing to send your consciousness out into the multi dimensions again, and to not be trapped in a body. Whatever that looks like, it'll be matrix free. Because at first we thought, well, we can just pull everybody out, put them in a new reality, but um, the psyche, I don't know how the psyche is going to be able to handle that for some people. So I think the actual universe itself is ascending, and then we're also being given the opportunity. It's ascending in frequency. Everyone is going to be raised from the bottom up. We're the bottom.
Hmm. Yeah.
Everything's going to be raised up. But then we also just the reward of this is to know. Well, now we know what not to do and how to act and how to be responsible. So we get to create our own universes. Be fun.
Yeah, and from a nonlinear
My
point of view,
sandbox.
yeah, exactly. From a nonlinear point of view, you can see how, uh, we've come back and fixed things over and over again, and we can get it right. We just, however many times, and we have gotten it right at a certain level too. So it's all about probability. I think about that at one episode of Travelers where they kept having to send people back to like save the life of the crew because they kept getting blasted and killed. And then the whole episode was almost like Groundhog's Day. They kept sending people to try to get to them in time to save their lives, and they finally succeeded. And I think we're dealing with a situation like that. I really ultimately think we don't have anything to worry about because our experience is linear time. But outside of that, even if it took us a billion times of doing this over and over again, we could get it right at some point. And I think we have already. It's just we're playing that out right now.
What I noticed in this first and second week of August is that we were replaying the exact same year. The
Oh, wow.
light energies were just as powerful, but the same thing happened to me. Like this movement forward, this great awakening to another level, and then it just seemed like it bottomed out again, and then it came back again 1 year, exactly 1 year later.
That's
It's like
wild.
I recognized a loop of a year. So whoever was lagging, guys, get your shit together because I'm their year.
Groundhog Year. Yeah, because, I was thinking about we had the solar eclipse around that time last year, and, of course, the September, the fall equinox, and we're coming
Very
up on that
powerful
again.
last year,
Yeah, it
but
really
we
was.
never had Schumann like this. And then with the KPs coming at the same time, and then with people stepping out and merging with their higher selves, and then stepping back in, that's powerful energy in itself. I mean, we could be causing it for all we know.
Definitely. And I think, it's where I am from a year ago is just incredible. I'm way more optimistic about everything. And last year I was just so impatient. Like you were explaining, you felt the night before the 8th. I felt like that, like all the time, just like, come on. And I even offered myself as a walk-in. I'm like, can I just get out of here and you let somebody else that's more experienced walk in and they can have
Yeah.
my body and stuff. And, it's totally cool, But now, I think I would have regretted that if they pulled me out and I
Yes.
had to watch from the outside. I think being a part of this, we're going to look back at this at some point and be like, oh my gosh, we did it. It was awesome. Let's do it again. We're probably doing it again, right?
No, I think
You're
we've
like, I don't
done
know
this
about
this one
that.
enough, but there will be a big party. Many people have talked about parties and banquets, and a lot of people are already waiting for us.
Yeah,
Whatever that means, however that means. And sometimes we can't wrap our minds around it, but those of us that are left here, and the big percentage of NPCs that are out there, there's
yeah,
not that many source players in here doing this right now.
right. That's
Whether
interesting.
you're Anunnaki, whether you're Starseed, whether you're the creator of this reality, whether you're a direct aspect of the father mother of this reality. I mean, in some level we all are, because we had to join in to this universal creator, to the father mother, to even come into this experience. We had to merge and join with that, and then we were birthed out of that. You know, some people came from other universes, but that's actually, it's interesting if you want to talk about like Mandela effect. We already have our own universes
Right.
in the future, but we came back from there to here. And then now we're going through experiencing what it went like to do everything and then to create your own universe. And then it's wild, man, because everything, there is no time. So
Yeah, and that, you can imagine how creator beings would get bored and create different scenarios to, let's just try it out and see what happens. Let's forget and go into this world you created. And then after this, we'll go into my world and you guys can come over. And, you know, I could totally see some kind of scenario like that where we're just trying out. And, you know, a million years is nothing if you live forever, right? I mean, you can imagine how it could be so different than what we imagine things being.
You know, Shane, I've noticed a decrease in the amount of interference and negative, agents jumping into bodies and then deliberately attacking. And, well, you know, so I'm kind of thinking, well, Michelle, you don't get out much, you know, so you're pretty safe in your own little cocoon, but I'm vowing to get out a little bit more with confidence that I'm protected in my bubble and that I can handle, you know, like I'm Neo walking back at the end of the first movie, walking back in the Matrix and stopping bullets and doing these things. So I encourage people to really play around with that and to stand in that mastery. We have everything that we need. We just need to believe that we can do it.
And like we mentioned earlier, we have unlimited resources at our disposal that we just ask for help. You know, there's the whole thing with free will that they're not going to impose their help on you. But if you ask, then it's like you've got this bank account with unlimited funds just waiting to help in whatever way you need. You know what I mean?
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that.
I think it's even better than what you could imagine, like a credit card and just use it whenever you need it. It's like we really have something like that, and we just don't realize it because we don't use it until we get down on our luck and ask. So ask more often, you know, with whatever, even if it seems like daily mundane task that you need help with. Just ask for help and see if they go a little bit better for you. It's worth a try, right?
Yeah, you can't lose anything. But then, you know, I want to talk to people, you know, if you are having a lot of interference and a lot of attacks, it's because you're doing something right. It's because you're important.
Yeah.
And there's just a phase that you have to go through called initiation, where you are faced with situations to where it pushes you to your limits and you need to learn how to react and how to handle it and master it. And it takes practice. And you have one of the things that helped me when I was in a very horrible, scary situation was I had to remember that it's not real. They aren't real. They are thought forms, AI, fourth dimensional beings. There's only one real source player, I think, that I guess in the Anunnaki scripts, they call him Marduk. And there are there might be some truth to the fact that maybe even Marduk is letting up and realizing that it's almost done. So that kind of helps. It kind of gives us some breathing room. But Marduk had the ability to split himself up into, you know, millions of astral beings, copies, and you know,
like Mr. Smith.
Yes,
or was
exactly.
That his name? Yeah, Mr. Smith in the Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And but that is glitching out. The more that we raise the frequency above that reality and we go in with those ones and zeros and wipe that code and add new code in, we're literally at the same time taking care of that as well. So it may be that Marduk has looked around and said, well, they've hacked my code, and this, you know, I'm withering away with energy because so many people are unplugging from, you know, the cords that are attached to them, saying no. But if you're having a really hard time, it's very important that you do, you know, physical cleansing, and that you continue to bring in information, truth, and love, because your consciousness can can help clear your mental body, your spiritual body. Well, your spiritual body is your consciousness, can help your physical body, your emotional body. But then, you know, at some point, your physical is going to have to catch up to the frequency that your spirit consciousness is. So at one point, and when you're first starting out, you may need to eat clean and do a cleanse and really, you know, try some, you know, moving your energy, get some Reiki, get some, you know, whatever it takes, whatever you're guided and drawn to do. But there's nothing that's going to be required of you that you have to pay for or that you have to live a certain way in order to master this. However, when you begin to master it, then you begin to realize, okay, well, I can manifest what I need to buy organic or to, you know, go work out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And something that I think, you know, there's a couple ways to do it. You can either start out physically clean and everything, and that kind of helps you raise your consciousness, or you can start out with the consciousness and let it work its way down. So the more that you raise your frequency, the more that you stand in your sovereignty and your power, and the more that you connect and integrate your higher selves, the less interference that you're going to be seeing in your reality.
That's awesome. I do have your websites below. Do you have resources? I have michellewalling.com, howtoexitthematrix.com, Comic Starseeds, Comic Starseeds, sorry. But...
I could be a comic sometimes, too. we all need a little bit more laughter in our lives.
Yeah, definitely. Cosmic Comic. Oh, that would be a good name, wouldn't it? And then Cosmic Awakening Show.
That's it. I do personal sessions, Starseed Support Specialist sessions.
I love that, Starseed Support Specialist.
Say that very fast, right?
Right.
Go to michellewalling.com and check that out. And then I talk about, I post other people's material, and I also write my own articles, and I post all my videos on howtoexitthematrix.com. But the cosmicstarseeds.com, if you just want to look at where I've grown and put back for the last 4 years, that is my conglomerate of all my things, just my stuff. Starseeds.com. The Cosmic Awakening Show was where I started doing my own show 4 years ago, and I've really just fallen away from doing that when I obviously went out for a while, and then, you know, it's just like writing articles takes a lot of time, but doing shows takes a lot more time. So as you very well know, because you need to research your, you know, I was always promoting someone else. Mm-hmm. And then finally I found my own voice. And that's when I started just doing Facebook Live videos. And I may get back into it in the future, may not, I don't know. But I just want to thank everyone who are doing those shows and interviewing the other people, because, you know, you don't want to get too bogged down serving to where you're not serving yourself. You know, you got to be in the middle, right?
All right, definitely. Yeah, and I try to do that too. I've always got my own research and stuff going on along with my guests that I have on that I resonate with at that time, and it's fun. And I know you're busy because I see you around other places outside of your own websites that I see listed here. So I wanted to add to what you were saying about the East Coast and the hurricane coming in, that Ronnie from Florida on yesterday's video posted a great comment about us all combining our power of intention, maybe during our meditation, to even steer it back out to sea, or to, you know, lessen its effect or whatever. So check out that comment. She had some great, and I've actually been doing it during my meditation time, sort of trying to push it back to the Sahara where it came, and or like what you said, just minimizing the damage, you know, or protecting the people if it does need to hit. So definitely worth trying, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I guess, you know, if you're still in your home, it's a gamble. You know, when I was here for the last hurricane last year, supposed to be Category 4, Category 5, headed straight towards Sarasota, and it just went right around us. But I can't say, you know, that, I mean, I know that everything that happens on a higher level, those souls that are there to deal with it know that they're either supposed to be there or they're not. So if you're not supposed to be there, you would have been, you know, freaked out and warned a long time ago to get out. But there's still a chance if you feel just safe getting out. I know so many people. Florida is so much different than South Carolina and North Carolina, and Houston's different as well. Houston, there's like not that many veins going north. And, you know,
Yeah.
you're there and you can go west or go north or whatever, you're still going to get rain, but you know, the impact of it's not going to be so bad as being right there and not having gas. You know, be prepared. You know, there's not going to be any gasoline for a while, and it may not be any electricity for some houses. So you got to have a lot of food, and you got to be either prepared to stay where you're at and deal with the situations. You need extra water and everything, or you know, go ahead and just for your own peace of mind, go ahead and just head out. I know that it's really rough out on the road. Don't just get out on the road and don't have food and water and, you know, a little bit of gas. So you're just going to have to follow your gut. No one can tell you what the best thing to do in that situation is, but you're there in that situation for a reason. You put yourself there. Everything that you're doing is in your own reality. So you have to really trust yourself.
That's hard to wrap your head around, but I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's yeah, and you know it's always good to have a full tank of gas too, just in case, because you're gonna get bogged down if you're like me and you're just sitting at a quarter of a tank most of the time because you don't need that much, a quarter or a half tank. You don't want to be sitting like that and then have to hit the highways and none of the
Yeah.
gas stations are working. So, but I'm here in Tulsa, so I have like tornadoes to worry about. I don't need that much gas
Oh
right now.
yeah, yeah. You always have tornadoes there.
Yeah,
But
it's
you've got
tornado alley.
shelter. Do you have a shelter?
No, because of the sea level we're at, you can't. There's no basements here, so some people have them, but they usually flood out. The last house we lived in had one, and like I went and it was full of water. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody could drown down there. Oh my, it was like because the water seeps in. I guess you need a sump pump or something. I was running there, so I don't really know, but yeah, I typically I think that would be horrible to get stuck down there. Like debris
Isn't that how we
trapping.
got here in the first place? Didn't we get whisked up by some tornado and then land in the
Like the Wizard of Oz.
land in some fantasy world?
It does feel like it, doesn't it?
We're things are about to get real. We're about to become real people. I mean, that's what the real ascension is the illusion gets wiped away, the masks get taken off, the veils drop. We are connecting with our loving multidimensional selves
Yeah.
and source, and we start to remember what we're here for, what the real ascension is. We couldn't tell we couldn't tell the Matrix all those years ago what we were really here to do, because if we did, we were going to give it away, and they would try everything that they could to knock out the key source players or the key star seeds or whatever. They would have had way too much information. So we created a whole storyline
Yeah.
around, this is just another end of the 26,000 year cycle. We're gonna vanish off into the fifth dimension. And they were like, yeah, we would really like that because we'd like to follow you and we'd like to actually orchestrate it. So let's create this mass consciousness that says send to the fifth dimension. And that's good enough. Don't even think about creating a new universe.
Right.
They would
Be-
have really liked it if we
yeah,
would.
because there's this whole system. It's like 5D chess. It's like there's this whole system at work that we have to beat. And you have to get the people doing what they need to do without giving away what you're doing. So I can totally see what you're saying. It's
But for
really
us to have
complicated.
this amazing awareness of what's happening, we must be close to the end. And it
Yeah,
isn't like, it isn't like we're not connecting with 5D energies. We are, but we're not going anywhere. We're doing it all here. We're trying to. And if we can't handle it, then we go somewhere.
totally.
Sometimes we come back. Oh man, what did I come back for? Why couldn't I have stayed? Just put me in the healing chamber and then give me my replicator.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, it's been
All
a
right,
pleasure having you on, and I want you to
thank
check back
you.
sometime soon. And
Thanks for checking in, man. I always enjoy talking to you. You're so cool.
you too.
You don't
It's
even get nervous.
part of the soul family here. We're all
Yeah.
we're all working together, so it's good
Yes.
to be on your team, and always a pleasure to have you. I'm so glad you could make time to come back. I want to have Greg on too sometime. I need to talk to him about that. I know he's so busy.
He's
So
going through a really tough time, man. With his backyard is dead. Fish being killed, and
mhm.
he's putting ozone water. He's programming and charging ozone water and pouring it into the ocean, and sending out love and healing and everything. But, I think things just have to unfold a certain way to get people's attention. And I know it'll all be fixed eventually. And the more intention and love people can put in the water and spread it around the planet, it balances and holds everything together until the reality is just going to dissolve. The bad part's just going to dissolve.
Totally. I mean, scientifically proven with Dr. Emoto how much we affect water with our thoughts and intentions and sending out love. And even we're like 60 something percent water. So even sending out good intentions to other people, and we should just be shining that light. That's why we're light workers, right? Starseeds.
Yes. Hey, Shane, you should go on the cruise that we're speaking on in January called the wavesoflight.org.
Ah,
I don't have I didn't write down the exact dates. There's several speakers, and it's going out of Tampa. And you can go to wavesoflight.org to check out the speakers. Greg's the speaker, I'm a speaker, and we've got Eric Rains and Nicole Frolic and a bunch of other wonderful people. Sorry, I don't have all your names memorized or written down, all the speakers that are going to be there. So be sure that if you do go and do sign up, that you let them know that N5D is who referred you. Okay. So Greg and I will be able to eat. Oh wait, all the food's free.
Oh yeah, the food should be free on a cruise, right? How long is it? Is it like a 3 day?
It's a 5-day, and we're going to Cozumel. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's like
we're still here, right?
Right. If we're still here,
we can't think that way. We got to just keep moving forward, put one foot in front of the other, and look at everything that's happening in your local reality and deal with only that. What's right in front of you here and now, right in the middle.
A conscious conference at sea, Waves of Light.
Yeah. What date is that, Shane?
Let me paste this into the chat.
I'm too fraidy cat to even touch my computer when I'm on someone else's show. I just sit back and forgot to write it down.
January 17th through the 21st,
cool.
2019.
Cool.
Bring your light and join the wave of conscious empowerment through our conscious conference at sea. Sounds awesome.
Greg and I aren't a couple anymore, but I hope that we can remain friends. And we have to forgive each other and move. We're moving on, and we're really looking forward to this cruise though, and so it'll be wonderful.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, a cruise sounds fun. My sister's gone to them, and I've loved them. Oh, did you say we have 44? That's funny. 44 likes and 4 dislikes, so 444. See, it's there. You need that balance right there. I looked earlier and there was 33 likes and 3 dislikes.
Oh, cool.
And then somebody just brought that up, and we went up by 1 thumb down and 11 thumbs up. So that's amazing.
Somebody doesn't like the fact that I don't want to just go to 5D in the Matrix and sit there.
No, it's not you. It's definitely me. I've got subscribers that subscribe and come and watch and thumb it down. That's like their purpose. Just like, we're here to spread love. They're here to spread
robots.
hate. Right. Yeah. They're NPCs.
NPCs. Yeah.
And you see that they're important to create these synchronicities. So
it's a beautiful, when it gets fixed, it's a beautiful experience. It's so much fun when everything works the way it should, this reality.
Yes, it really is. And I think, like I said, from where I was a year ago, I'm really excited and optimistic and totally not worried. I trust that everything's working out just as it should. And when I look back, I can see I've been where I needed to be and done the things I needed to do when I needed to do them. And I didn't orchestrate it. So somebody's helping me up from a higher level that I can't see. And I'll just keep on trucking and trust that they'll continue on since they've got me this far, right? So they, meaning my higher self.
I know, but do what I do. I suggest that you do what I do and start stepping into the shoes of your higher self. What would it be like if I was my higher self? How would I act? How would I think? And I'll just call yourself your higher self embodied, and because you know what, you are more than you know. I think I told you at the last show.
Oh yeah, but you're totally right. Yeah, I'm reading Magenta Pixie's new book, and she channels the 9, and they're like her future higher selves. And I'm like, it's a trip to think about it. But then they're all sort of one and the same, too. So it really depends on what level you look at everything. You know what I mean? Because at a certain level, we're all the same. Me and you are even the same at a certain level. So it's like, what's going on here?
I know.
It's like a multi-dimensional. When you think of it from all the different dimensions, you see it
It's
completely
this.
different. Yeah.
This is what it is. It's this and this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
just like her artwork.
is equal, and this is equal, and it's all the 0 point right in the middle.
Yeah. And
Templar cross.
yeah, and although we're traveling along this line and things seem linear, if you move this direction, then things begin to not look so linear anymore. So it's hard to explain even from where we're at, you know.
It is. We're doing our darndest, though.
Totally. Well, lots of love and light to everybody in the
Okay.
chat, and thank you again, Michelle, for coming on.
Bye, everybody.
Peace, everybody. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.